To casino customers, waitresses were just people who brought drinks. Rachel Stone was one of them, until that night, while listening to Russian Mafia leaders' conversation in the VIP lounge, nobody suspected that what she whispered into her microphone would cause the FBI to raid the entire casino. Before we dive into this incredible story of hidden identity and undercover operations, tell me in the comments which city you're watching from today. And if you believe stories like this deserve to be shared, hit that subscribe button. The Bellagio Casino stood as one of Las Vegas's most iconic establishments, its elegant fountains and luxury appointments attracting millions of visitors annually who came to experience the glamour and excitement that had made Sin City legendary throughout the world. The casino floor sprawled across hundreds of thousands of square feet, housing slot machines, gaming tables, and high-stakes poker rooms where fortunes were won and lost every night. Beyond the glittering facade and entertainment spectacle, the Bellagio served as a nexus for financial transactions that involved billions of dollars in legitimate gaming revenue mixed with illicit money flows that law enforcement agencies had been tracking for years. The casino's VIP lounges and private gaming areas provided perfect venues for high-level criminal organizations to conduct business under the cover of routine gambling activities. Among the hundreds of staff members who worked throughout the casino's numerous floors and gaming areas was Rachel Stone, a 29-year-old woman who had been employed as a cocktail waitress for the past 3 years. To the thousands of customers and fellow employees who encountered her during her shifts, Rachel appeared to be exactly what her uniform and job description indicated, a professional hospitality worker who provided drink service to gamblers. Rachel's background, according to casino employment records, included previous experience in restaurant and bar service in several major cities before relocating to Las Vegas. Her work performance was consistently excellent, her customer service skills were outstanding, and her ability to navigate the complex social dynamics of casino patrons had earned her assignment to the establishment's most exclusive gaming areas. Her approach to cocktail service was professional and attentive in ways that distinguished her from many of her colleagues in the hospitality industry. While other waitresses might provide routine drink service, Rachel demonstrated exceptional memory for customer preferences, situational awareness that allowed her to anticipate needs, and language skills that enabled her to communicate effectively with international clientele. What none of Rachel's colleagues or the high-rolling customers she served knew was that her employment at the Bellagio was not a career choice in the hospitality industry, but rather a carefully orchestrated undercover assignment conducted by one of America's most elite federal law enforcement agencies. Rachel Stone was not just a casino waitress, she was Special Agent Rachel Stone, an 8-year veteran of the FBI's Organized Crime Task Force, with extensive experience in financial crimes investigation, money laundering operations, and undercover work that had taken her into the heart of criminal organizations operating throughout the United States and internationally. Her law enforcement background included specialized training in financial forensics, organized crime intelligence, and undercover operations techniques that had enabled her to infiltrate criminal networks and gather evidence that had resulted in dozens of successful prosecutions of major crime figures. Rachel's language skills included fluency in Russian, Italian, and Mandarin Chinese, making her invaluable for investigations involving international criminal organizations. The decision to place Rachel in an undercover assignment at the Bellagio had been made at the highest levels of federal law enforcement, based on intelligence indicating that several major organized crime families were using Las Vegas casinos to launder money from drug trafficking, human trafficking, and arms-dealing operations that generated hundreds of millions of dollars in illegal proceeds annually. Rachel's mission was to gather evidence of money laundering activities while maintaining her cover as casino staff, ready to identify criminal transactions and communications that could provide the basis for federal prosecutions of organized crime leaders who had previously operated beyond the reach of law enforcement agencies. The sophisticated nature of Rachel's cover identity required her to actually perform cocktail service at a professional level, which meant she had undergone training in hospitality management, casino operations, and customer service to ensure that her cover would withstand scrutiny from casino management and security personnel who were unaware of her true role. For 3 years, Rachel had successfully maintained her dual role without incident. She had gathered evidence that had contributed to several major organized crime investigations, identified money laundering networks that had been disrupted through federal prosecutions, and provided intelligence that had enhanced the FBI's understanding of how criminal organizations used legitimate businesses to hide illegal activities. Rachel's daily routine at the Bellagio provided ideal cover for her investigative activities. The constant interaction with high-stakes gamblers gave her access to individuals and conversations that might reveal criminal activities, while her position serving drinks in VIP areas allowed her to observe transactions and communications that could indicate money laundering operations. The case that would ultimately expose Rachel's true identity began when Viktor Petrov, a notorious Russian organized crime leader with connections to international drug trafficking and money laundering networks, arrived in Las Vegas with an entourage of associates for what appeared to be a high-stakes gambling vacation, but was actually a business meeting to coordinate criminal activities. Petrov's presence in Las Vegas had triggered enhanced FBI surveillance because intelligence reports indicated that he was planning to establish new money laundering operations that would use American casinos to clean proceeds from criminal activities conducted throughout Europe and Asia. The potential scope of his operations made him a priority target for federal investigation. Rachel had been assigned to provide drink service in the VIP lounge where Petrov and his associates were conducting their gambling activities, providing her with legitimate access to observe their interactions and gather intelligence about their conversations and business dealings. Her cover as casino staff allowed her to conduct surveillance without arousing suspicion. For 5 days, Rachel had monitored Petrov's activities through routine cocktail service that placed her in position to observe his meetings with other criminal figures, casino executives, and financial intermediaries who facilitated money laundering operations. Her linguistic abilities allowed her to understand conversations conducted in Russian that other surveillance operatives could not comprehend. On the sixth night of Petrov's stay, Rachel was serving drinks in the casino's most exclusive private gaming room when she overheard a conversation that revealed the full scope of the criminal conspiracy that federal agents had been investigating for months. The discussion involved detailed planning for money laundering operations that would process hundreds of millions of dollars through multiple casinos. The conversation was conducted in Russian between Petrov and Dmitry Volkov, another major organized crime figure who controlled trafficking operations throughout Eastern Europe. Their discussion revealed specific details about how they planned to use casino transactions to disguise the origin of funds generated through drug sales, human trafficking, and arms dealing. More significantly, the conversation included references to corrupted casino executives, banking officials, and government regulators who were being paid to facilitate the money laundering operations and prevent law enforcement detection. The scope of the corruption revealed a criminal network that extended far beyond what federal investigators had previously understood. Rachel's training in organized crime investigation allowed her to recognize that the information she was hearing represented evidence of criminal activities that posed significant threats to national security and financial integrity. The international scope of the operations and the level of corruption involved required immediate federal response to prevent the implementation of money laundering systems that could process billions of dollars in criminal proceeds. The decision to transmit the intelligence she had gathered was complicated by the need to maintain her undercover identity while ensuring that federal agents could act on time-sensitive information before the criminal network completed their operational planning. Rachel had spent 3 years building her cover at the Bellagio, and exposing her role could compromise other ongoing investigations. However, the significance of the intelligence she had gathered and the immediate threat posed by the money laundering operations justified the risk of compromising her cover to prevent criminal activities that could have international implications for organized crime enforcement and financial security. Using the concealed communication device that connected her directly to FBI surveillance teams, Rachel transmitted coded information that would identify the nature and scope of the criminal conspiracy while requesting immediate tactical response to arrest the participants before they could implement their plans. Speaking quietly into her concealed microphone while appearing to take drink orders from casino patrons, Rachel provided the information that would trigger one of the largest organized crime operations in Las Vegas history. Package confirmed. Multiple subjects. International scope. Request immediate containment, she whispered, using operational language that would alert federal agents to the significance of what she had discovered while maintaining enough ambiguity to avoid detection if her communications were intercepted. The response to Rachel's intelligence was swift and coordinated. Within 30 minutes, FBI tactical teams had surrounded the Bellagio and begun implementing arrest procedures designed to simultaneously detain all members of the criminal conspiracy while securing evidence that could support federal prosecutions. However, the obvious presence of federal agents and the coordinated nature of the law enforcement response began to raise questions among casino staff and patrons about how a routine gambling evening had become the center of what appeared to be a major federal investigation. Rachel's transformation from cocktail waitress to federal agent was necessarily dramatic as she began coordinating with FBI personnel to provide intelligence about the location and activities of targets throughout the casino. Her obvious expertise in law enforcement procedures and organized crime investigation confirmed her credentials to anyone who might have questioned her authority. The operation to arrest Petrov, Volkov, and their associates required Rachel to utilize her full knowledge of the casino's layout, the criminal network's activities, and the evidence that would be needed to support federal prosecutions. Her 3 years of undercover work had provided her with detailed understanding of how the money laundering operations functioned and who the key participants were. Working with FBI tactical teams and financial crimes investigators, Rachel provided guidance that enabled federal agents to simultaneously arrest dozens of individuals while seizing financial records, communication devices, and other evidence that documented the scope of the criminal conspiracy. Her intelligence proved crucial for ensuring that the operation captured all participants before they could destroy evidence or flee the jurisdiction. The coordinated arrest successfully dismantled what federal prosecutors would later describe as one of the largest money laundering networks ever discovered, with operations that had processed over $2 billion in criminal proceeds through legitimate financial institutions and businesses, including multiple Las Vegas casinos. Rachel's 3 years of undercover work had successfully identified the leadership structure, operational methods, and financial mechanisms that had enabled the criminal network to operate undetected while processing enormous quantities of illegal funds. Her ability to maintain cover while gathering critical evidence had proven the value of long-term infiltration operations. The revelation of Rachel's true identity had immediate implications for casino security policies and federal law enforcement approaches to investigating organized crime activities in the gaming industry. Her success demonstrated new possibilities for detecting and preventing money laundering operations through strategic placement of qualified investigators. For Rachel, the exposure of her cover identity marked the end of one of the FBI's most successful long-term undercover operations and the beginning of new assignments that would utilize her expertise in both organized crime investigation and financial crimes enforcement. Her work at the Bellagio had proven the effectiveness of embedded agents in gathering evidence against sophisticated criminal networks. The casino staff and patrons who had known Rachel as a dedicated cocktail waitress gained new understanding of the hidden law enforcement efforts that protected legitimate businesses from criminal exploitation and the commitment of federal agents who served without recognition in roles that concealed their true mission. Rachel's story became a case study within federal law enforcement about successful long-term undercover operations and the value of placing experienced agents in positions where they could monitor criminal activities while maintaining cover identities that allowed them to gather evidence without detection. Years later, after Rachel had moved on to other assignments that utilized her unique combination of undercover experience and organized crime expertise, the FBI would implement new protocols for casino investigations based on lessons learned from the Bellagio operation and the demonstrated effectiveness of embedded surveillance. Special Agent Rachel Stone had proven that the most effective organized crime investigations often depended on agents who served without acknowledgement, maintaining civilian cover identities while quietly gathering evidence and remaining ready to act when their law enforcement training and investigative experience were needed to dismantle criminal networks. The cocktail waitress who had seemed dedicated to customer service had actually been one of the FBI's most experienced organized crime investigators, demonstrating that effective law enforcement often required agents to serve in roles that concealed their expertise until circumstances demanded their true capabilities. Her successful infiltration of the money laundering network had shown that major criminal organizations could be penetrated and dismantled through the strategic positioning of qualified federal agents who could provide inside access to criminal planning and evidence that would otherwise be impossible to obtain through conventional investigative methods. The investigation had answered federal law enforcement's call for intelligence on international money laundering, proving that organized crime legends were often hidden among casino employees, ready to reveal their true capabilities when national security depended on training and experience that could counter threats beyond the scope of routine financial crimes enforcement.